It was raining the way it rains in moments you remember for the rest of your life, not soft and gentle, but heavy, determined, as if the sky itself had decided to wash away the city's sins. The office building's marble lobby reflected the dim light from the street lamps outside. Water dripped from umbrellas, the air smelled faintly of wet concrete, and somewhere in the distance, a security guard's radio crackled faintly. Ethan Cole, the night janitor, moved quietly through the space, pushing his cart across the shining floor. He had a way of working that seemed almost invisible, no sound except the soft squeak of the mop bucket wheels. Most people didn't notice him, and he preferred it that way. It was easier to clean up after the world when you didn't have to be part of it. He was about to wheel his cart toward the elevator when he heard it, the sound of small footsteps. Light, uneven. He turned, and that's when he saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing barefoot in the lobby. Her hair was tangled, her dress damp from the rain, and in her tiny hands, she clutched a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. Her big brown eyes stared at him with a strange mixture of fear and hope. "Hey, are you lost?" Ethan asked softly, crouching down so he wouldn't tower over her. She hesitated, then whispered something that made his heart stop. "Are you my new daddy?" For a moment, he forgot how to breathe. He opened his mouth, closed it again, and turned instinctively toward the glass doors. Outside, a tall man in an expensive suit stood under the awning, Richard Hale, the CEO of the company that owned the building. Ethan had seen him before, always surrounded by people in crisp suits, moving fast, speaking in clipped tones. Tonight, he was alone, standing still, watching. Richard stepped forward, and the girl's eyes lit up. She ran to him, wrapping her tiny arms around his legs. Ethan froze. The CEO looked down at her, then at Ethan. "She's not mine," Richard said slowly, almost as if trying to convince himself. His voice was low, but something in it cracked. Ethan could feel there was more to this, more than just a child lost in a lobby. The security guard arrived, slightly out of breath. "Sir, this little one came in from the street. No parents in sight." Richard's jaw tightened. "Call the police. Or, wait." He glanced at Ethan. "What's your name?" "Ethan. Come with me," Richard said. "Both of you." They took the elevator to the top floor, a place Ethan had never been. The doors opened to a world of glass walls, expensive artwork, and a sweeping view of the rain-washed city. The little girl, her name was Lily, sat on a couch, hugging her rabbit. She didn't speak much, just looked between Ethan and Richard as if trying to piece together some puzzle only she understood. Over the next hour, Ethan learned pieces of the story in fragments. Lily's mother had worked for the company years ago. She'd been a quiet woman, a single mother, often working late nights to make ends meet. One day, she'd stopped coming in. No one had known why. And now, here was her daughter, in the middle of a storm, asking strangers to be her father. The police found no immediate leads. Foster care was mentioned. That word, foster, made Lily shrink into herself. Richard paced, running a hand over his face. I don't know how to do this," he muttered. Ethan, watching him, said quietly, "You don't have to know. You just have to care." Something shifted in Richard's expression. That night, instead of handing Lily over to strangers, Richard took her to his penthouse. And he asked Ethan, a janitor he'd barely spoken to before, to come too. "She trusts you," he said. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. The three of them, a billionaire CEO, a quiet janitor, and a little girl with a stuffed rabbit, became something like a family. Ethan cooked. Richard tried and failed to make pancakes. Lily laughed more, but shadows still hung over them. She had nightmares, waking up crying for a mother who never came back. Ethan noticed Richard watching her during those moments, his jaw clenched, his eyes full of something that looked a lot like guilt. One night, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan confronted him. "You know more than you're saying." Richard's gaze was cold for a moment, then broke. He told Ethan everything. Years ago, Lily's mother had been fired after refusing to cover for a scandal involving one of the executives. She'd been struggling, desperate, and Richard, newly appointed CEO at the time, had signed the papers without question. He'd told himself it was just business. But now, seeing Lily, he realized the cost of his decisions. "I ruined her life," Richard said quietly. "And maybe hers too." Ethan didn't sugarcoat it. "You can't undo the past. But you can choose what you do next." The next morning, Richard began a search for Lily's mother that would span months. He hired investigators, contacted old employees, followed every lead. In the meantime, Lily stayed with them. She started school, drew pictures of "my two dads" in crayon, and slowly, the haunted look in her eyes faded. Until one cold evening, the phone rang. They'd found her mother, alive, but sick, living in a shelter across the city. The reunion was quiet, not the dramatic embrace movies promise. Her mother was thin, tired, her voice shaky. She cried when she saw Lily, holding her like she was afraid she might vanish. Richard stood back, letting them have their moment. But Lily reached for Ethan's hand and Richard's too, pulling them closer. "We can all be family," she said simply. It wasn't that simple. There were legal papers, custody battles, hospital visits. But slowly, painfully, something began to grow, not the perfect family Lily imagined, but a real one, messy and complicated and stitched together with second chances. Years later, Lily would tell the story differently. She'd say that one night, in a rainy lobby, she asked a question that changed everything. And two men, one who cleaned floors, one who owned the building, decided the answer was yes. And if you asked Richard or Ethan, they'd tell you the same thing. Love doesn't ask where you came from, only where you're willing to go. That's the thing about family. Sometimes you're born into it. Sometimes you build it out of strangers,